So today I got the Platinum Trophy on Spider-Man. This game has 51 trophies, including the Platinum. It's a 3 out of 10 difficulty on PSN profiles. Now I decided to do this on Spectacular difficulty, but it's not required for the Plat. I just did it because I thought it'd be fun. But the game opens up with an explosion that leads to Fist Towers, and once you reach the tower, there's a bunch of armed dudes guarding. And after entering the tower, you meet up with some SWAT guys who turned out to be working for Fisk. And after taking care of those guys, we finally get to meet Fisk, aka the Kingpin. So this begins our first boss fight of the game. For this fight, all you have to do is whip him up and strike when he's stunned. After doing that for about 5 minutes, we finally take him down, popping our first trophy of the game. I then met up with Dr. Octavius, the scientist that Peter's working for, and we get to see the prosthetics that he's working on.
That's what I'm saying!
But after going back into the city, I came across the relay tower, and hacking those will open up areas of the map and give us fast travel points. And after completing the last one, I got another trophy. After doing all the towers that unlock the backpacks collectibles, I then got a trophy for collecting 5 backpacks. And as I was swinging around the city, I got another trophy for completing a traversal benchmark. And another trophy shortly after for doing 10 perfect dodges. I collected the final backpack in the city, which gave me another trophy. And then I upgraded web shooters, which gave me a trophy. And as I was swinging to my next mission, I got another trophy, which I don't know what I did, but I'll take it. I then unlocked the photo opportunities around the city, where I basically just had to take a picture of different landmarks, and after getting the last one, I ended up popping a trophy. And for the next mission, I headed to a museum where I ran into these masked guys holding a woman at gunpoint. Then Spider-Man's girlfriend made an appearance, W-Riz. I then take control of MJ, and she ends up finding a demon mask, which Peter takes the mask to Martin Lee, who says he's an expert in Chinese artifacts, and who is definitely not going to be a villain later on. I then went back into the city, and after busting some moves in the air, I popped the trophy. I then came across this research station set up by Harry Osborn and his mom, which I had to keep up and running, in other words, another collectible. I then got another trophy for completing a level 1 combat benchmark. And for the next mission, Spider-Man runs into Shocker, who is robbing a bank. This is also our next boss fight of the game, and after defeating him, I pop another trophy. I then came across these black cat lookouts where I had to find a hidden cat and take a picture of it, and also doing this will pop me another trophy. And after doing the final lookout, it gives you a location of Black Cat's hideout, and after entering, I find a new spider suit, but more importantly, a trophy. I then ran into this dude named Howard, whose pigeons escaped, and he wanted me to swing around and go get him back for him. This trophy was pretty easy, so it didn't take long, but here's the trophy. So for the next part of the story, the Oscorp rally got attacked, where you then take control of Miles Morales. I think we can see where this is going. He eventually found his dad, but it was already too late for him. If that doesn't feel to become Spider-Man, I don't know what will. But completing that mission will pop another trophy. While I was exploring a warehouse, I found a map that shows all the other warehouses the demons have taken control over.
Oh boy, do I love collectibles.
I then meet the leader of a new enemy type called Sable. Sable's a private military that came to bring down the demon organization, but they just so happen to also hate Spider-Man. But after he talked her down, Peter made his way to Martin Lee's office, where he found out that he is actually the leader of the demons. I then came up to this parking garage where we found this guard, and he told us that the place is being ambushed. I made my way inside, and sure enough, Sable's taken Charles Standish hostage, who is the chief financial officer of Oscorp. As I was taking those dudes out, I got a trophy for doing 75 stealth takedowns. After taking those guys out, I go to talk to Charles, and I'm never skipping another cutscene again because I don't even know how I got here. But eventually I did save him. I think this is the part where we're supposed to kiss. So after that, I came across another collectible in the form of challenges, which are placed around the city by a dude named Taskmaster. Now that's a cool name. But first I went back and checked up on Doc, which he had made a huge breakthrough on his new project. A cutscene then appears which shows the Devil's Breath, which is meant to be a bioweapon, and Sable's being super sketchy, but he does end up handing it over to him. Then I run into Martin Lee, where he sends us up to the Shadow Realm, which leads to a boss fight with him in our head. But after defeating him, we go search the truck that he was in, but the Devil's Breath is gone. The good news is I got a trophy for crafting 15 upgrades. I then meet up with Martin Lee yet again for another boss fight on the train. Pretty boring boss fight, but you basically just have to dodge left and right, and when he's tired, you just punch him. And after doing that for a while, I finally defending him, sending him back to the raft. And then I also got another trophy for fast traveling 5 times. And after I met back up with Doc, I got to see the beginning of his villain arc, where we tell him that the suit is not safe, and he does not take that very kindly. But now they're my favorite mission of the game. All the inmates are breaking out of the prison, including all the supervillains, and now we find out that Doc has turned evil. After completing that, it completed the act and I also got a trophy. Completing that act also unlocks Sable Outpost, another collectible in the game. But I then decided to go after Tombstone, where I gave him an antidote to cure his immortal zombie disease, which popped the trophy. I then defeated Electro and Vulture for another trophy. And after that, I decided to tackle some of the Taskmaster challenges. The first one, I basically just had to go around and defuse 3 bombs as fast as I could, which popped the trophy. And as I was going to the next one, I had a run-in with Rhino and Scorpion. And after defeating him, I popped the trophy. So now I had the third and final Martin Lee boss, which was by far my favorite, and after defeating him, I popped the trophy. So then Dr. Octavius paid a visit and kidnapped Harry Osborn and took him to the top of Oscorp, where he dropped him, but we got there just in time to save him. So now we finally get to face off with Dr. Octopus. I basically just had to web him up until he was stunned and then web strike him. I then unplug him, but we found out that Doc knew the Spider-Man was Peter this whole time, but we did finally defeat him. And after returning to the hospital, the doctor told us that there's only enough antidote to make it into vaccines and not enough to save Aunt May. So Aunt May died. But the good news is Spider-Man finally got his kiss.
That's what I'm saying.
And also found out that Miles Morales is also a Spider-Man. And Norman Osborn had Harry this whole time along with the symbiote. So now for the cleanup of the game, I got a trophy for wearing 5 different suits, and then I decided to finish up the Taskmaster challenges. I got a trophy for the Combat Challenge, Stealth Challenge, finally the Drone Challenge. After completing the final challenge, I got a trophy and also got to fight the Taskmaster himself. After defeating him, I got another trophy. I then got a trophy for completing all objectives in a base, and another trophy for webbing together 10 guys with the Trick 9. I then got another trophy for doing 10 vehicle takedowns, and for completing all faction crimes in a district. Then I met this dude who said the people from the school were gone missing. When I did eventually find them, they were all infected by Martin Lee's power, but after saving the last one, I got a trophy. I then went around the city giving out high fives for a trophy, and another one for unlocking all skills. I finally finished all the crimes around the city, which was torture, by the way. You don't get a trophy for it, but it's needed for the 100% completion. Then had one final side mission to do, which I talked to this woman who's night bird watching, and she said that she's seen something suspicious in the park. For this mission, I basically just had to defeat some enemies and chase down a hard drive. And after returning, there were enemies attacking the woman, but after defeating them, I completed the mission, which popped the trophy. I then decided to do the last prisoner outpost for a trophy, the last Fisk outpost, the last demon warehouse, and the last Sable outpost. I then finished buying all the suits for a trophy, and then I finished the last research station of the game, which gave me 100% completion of the game, but we're not done yet. And after changing into the proper attire, I headed back to Doc's lab to finish all the remaining research. I then perched atop Avengers Tower, and finally I paid my respects to Uncle Ben. Yeah, screw you, Aunt May. Finally got the platinum. If you did like this video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments any game suggestions you might have.